Anyway, the plan for this week, I found some sweet potato. All right, so today we're supposed to have some thunderstorms come in, and according to Alexa this morning, we are under a wind advisory until tomorrow. And this thing just keeps blowing off. It usually blows up this way, so I secured it more in the back, but it's doing a little better than it was. You know, it's been rained on and stuff enough that the soil's starting to compact more, but it just, I think a squirrel dug up one of my leeks. But anyway, it's just not compacted enough yet to really hold it down. What I need is an anchor that's about this long. That will go all the way to the bottom. But instead, I just picked up another package of tent stakes and added some more stakes. So we will see if this is still secure by tomorrow morning. So I was looking at the forecast this morning, and it looks like spring is finally about here to stay. We're going to get a storm front today, and then a couple more days in the 50s, and then it's going to get better after that. So it is time to start hardening these babies off so that they can move out to the greenhouse to stay. So I'm going to sit them out on the front porch for about 30 minutes today, and then we'll build up from there. These milkweed, I swear these are crazy. If any of you have had this experience, please let me know. But they have sprouted so many times. These two finally seem to be staying, but like these two both, they'll sprout and then all of a sudden it's like they disappear back under the soil. And I thought, well, I guess they just died. But then a few days later, all of a sudden they're back out again. It's so weird. But anyway, jalapenos are doing great. All of my herbs are coming along. Bell peppers are growing a little slower than the jalapenos for sure. Marigolds, I'm definitely ready to get those things out. And then these are all of the daisies and the cosmos, and they are doing very, very well. I'm ready to get those planted as well. And the time is rapidly approaching. Normally, our last freeze date here is April 10th, but it's looking like, or well, our last frost date, I should say, is April 10th. But it is looking like it's going to be more like April 1st this year. So very soon, I'll be able to put them in the ground. And these little guys are romaine and bib, and I forgot to stick the tags in them after I sowed them, and now I don't remember which one's which. But for whatever reason, I have never had much luck with sowing these directly into the soil outside. Oh, and this guy over here is a jalapeno. He's definitely a very slow bloomer. But anyway, everything else is coming up well in the garden beds except for these two. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try again, sow some in some cells and see what happens. And honestly, they sprouted within just a couple of days. So not sure why they don't like it outside, but I'm going to transplant them probably in about a week or so. And that's it. That's everything I have left. Well, now that we have this back where it belongs, I'm going to start on my crackers. So I'm trying a brand new flour that I haven't used before. This is still from King Arthur, so it's the same brand. I love this brand. Their flour is good quality, but also it is, I believe this one is a 100% employee-owned company, so that's also great news as well. But the other flour, the just plain whole wheat flour, I used it for the bread last week, and it was fine, but just straight whole wheat flour can have a pretty strong flavor, especially if you're not using it to like make pancakes or something where you're going to maybe have some maple syrup or something to sweeten it, or, you know. So before I did much of anything else, I wanted to look for a all-purpose flour that was not quite as strong. And so this one, it's just unbleached, hard red wheat flour. So, and it definitely looks a lot lighter, so I'm hoping the flavor will not disappoint me. But we're going to use this to make crackers. And then, of course, whenever I need more bread, I will use it for that as well. So. And I just remembered something. I definitely intended to film a reel/TikTok/short while I'm doing this. So I am going to set up my phone to do that at the same time. So since I didn't have a full-size sheet pan, I just went ahead and cut the dough in half. So I'm going to do 2 batches. But in the meantime, while that is cooking, I'm going to go ahead and put together my black bean salsa for this week. So I want to clear this space. I have my items out and already sitting aside over here, so I'm going to pull them over, and then we're going to get to making that. This one is pretty easy because you just take all of the ingredients, chop up what you need to, throw them all in a bowl, stir them together, and that's it. throw in the seasonings, squeeze on the lime juice, and you're ready to serve it. So it's one of the things I love about doing salads, because they usually are pretty quick and simple, just like that. All right, so I've got everything that just needs to be opened and dumped in. So now I've got to chop everything. And while I'm at it, I figured I would just chat with you a little bit about the homemade crackers, which might be a little premature because we have yet to see if they've turned out well. But if you saw my last video and you know kind of why I am making them, the FTC did actually put out a report just a couple of days, or actually, let's see, that was Sunday. So 2 days before my last video, 2 days before I recorded that chat at the end of my last video, the FTC actually did release a report confirming that all of these mega corporations that are selling all of these groceries, mainly processed goods, but just grocery prices in general, confirming that they have in fact been price gouging, that the prices they were setting on their products were above and beyond what they were actually, what would have been legitimate in response to the supply chain disruption that, of course, they were blaming their increased prices on. So no information has been released as of yet, whether they're going to levy a fine or what kind of action the FTC is going to kind of recommend be taken against all of these corporations. But this landed just in time for that April 1st Kellogg's boycott. So, people have even more fuel for their fire, I guess, for the boycott. I had mentioned that for myself personally, I'm kind of just doing a spending freeze anyway, which you already knew I've been doing that this year. So I'm really not buying anything that isn't necessary. Man, these onions are hard on the eyes. I did not let them sweat before I started chopping. But anyway, so I'm doing everything I can do to not spend money on any kind of items that are going to support any big business. It started out for me as just a financial goal for this year. And it's kind of morphed into a bit of a boycott, I guess. It's not even necessarily that I'm boycotting or want to send a message, which, now that the masses are doing it, that's exactly what's going to happen. And I'm definitely here for it. But I think for me, it was just kind of an ethical thing. I just don't want to keep giving my money to companies that are clearly taking advantage of us. They are getting rich at our expense while we are all getting poorer as a result of their greed. And, I don't want to participate in that. I don't want to be a part of that world. I don't want to give them my money when I don't agree with their ethics. In addition to obviously saving money for myself. So that's kind of been the primary driver behind it. But I think that, it is awesome that we do have this report out now and that we can confirm this. And it is no longer just an assumption based on the fact that they are recording record profits at the same time as claiming that, supply chain shortages, everything is costing us more. Well, if it's costing you more, you shouldn't be making record profits then, right? So anyway, that is where the drive for doing things like making my own homemade crackers has come from, because I don't want to, well, that's not the only place it's come from, but that is a big part of it. I don't want to continue supporting any of these brands. I'm not really buying crackers too much anyway, because it is really, really difficult to get a cracker that is not made with oil. So basically, Mary's Gone Crackers seed crackers are about the only ones that I buy, but I will also occasionally buy like Triscuits. They are at least a good whole grain, but they're still made with oil and salt. And Mary's Gone Crackers is, as far as a company, they, they're pretty ethical. It's not owned by one of the major corporations. But they are also about $5 a box. And that's the thing that I think gets aggravating for me, is that when you try to be health conscious and you try to eat things that are whole foods and not heavily processed goods, it is extremely difficult to find anything that isn't extremely expensive. Like the cost of things, if you want to eat healthy, are so, so, so high that it is very, very hard. Like, just to eat dried beans and rice or something is easy. But, if you want to continue enjoying products like, store-bought breads or crackers or anything like that, that you can just run into the store and pick up, you're paying a price for it. I don't necessarily mind paying for ethically sourced products that come from good companies. But, I definitely have money to think about because I don't have unlimited funds for buying that stuff. And that is where I have made the push into making a whole lot more of these things homemade rather than buying them from the store. Because even if there are companies that might be ethical and might have good quality products, they're just too expensive and I can't afford them. So at the end of the day, that is where this started for me, was a money thing, and it has morphed into kind of a stick it to the man kind of thing. And I am really thrilled to hear and see that across America, people are getting on board with this, and it is becoming a movement, and it makes me really happy. But we'll see how these crackers turn out. I didn't feel like it was complicated at all to make, so I'm hoping they'll be good so that I have this to just kind of add to my repertoire, and I'm going to keep right on going. I'm going to keep on making things. I forgot the jalapeno. It was hiding over there. Oh, for crying out loud. Alexa, set a timer for 25 minutes. So I completely forgot that I had turned the oven on, and then when I found out my rolling pin wasn't here, I turned it back off because I didn't know how long it would be before Michael would be here. But so it's been in there for 25 minutes and the oven was not on. We'll just revert back to this. So I have this together. I am going to go ahead and throw it over some salad greens. I think I might go ahead and throw some corn tortillas in my air fryer as well and crisp those up to crunch on top. And the corn tortillas are something else that I'm considering making homemade too, because I was looking up how to make like homemade Doritos, because I don't eat Doritos. Obviously, I don't eat cheese, but my son loves them. And I'm like, well, I could buy the Aldi's brand, but I was like, I wonder if that's something else that would be really easy to make homemade. And it looks like it is also just essentially you take a corn tortilla and toss it either in the oven or the air fryer with some seasonings on it. That's about all there is to it. But in the process, I found a way to make actual tortillas themselves, and I realized how completely simple that is. But rather than using a rolling pin, they make tortilla presses. That would be way easier because it will have it uniform, extremely thin, exactly the size that you need. And so now I really want to get one of those and make my tortillas homemade too, because if you remember 2-3 weeks ago, I was talking about making the corn tortilla chips. I believe it was to go with my roasted cauliflower soup. And, to buy tortilla chips already made in the store, they always have oil and salt. And so I just bought actual tortillas, corn tortillas, cut them myself, put them in the air fryer, and you get away from the oil and the salt, but they still have preservatives. So making my own would be a good way to just get away from all of it, right? You're not going to have any of the preservatives, any of the oil, any of the salt. So I'm very strongly thinking about doing that and seeing how much work it actually would be to make these corn tortillas. But anyway, that was just another one of the cool things that I have found while kind of going down the rabbit hole of researching all of these things that you can make homemade to save money and also not support corporations. So anyway, I'm going to do that real quick, and then we're going to throw a salad together. Ready to go eat? All right, I'm going to go ahead and let this one cool, and then I'll break it up and add to this. But they turned out really good. And honestly, because I don't know if my kids will eat these or not. They're not really chips, yes, crackers, no, which is why I kind of flirted with the idea of making homemade Doritos. But I think since it's just me, I could have just done a half of a batch and this would have been plenty for a week. And I can feel really good about these because it's just that King Arthur flour, and it's a whole wheat flour, unbleached wheat. What was it? Red wheat. It was earlier in this video. And then I added my own seasonings to it, and that's all it was. So really, for just the crackers, it's flour and water, and that's it. It did call for a teaspoon of salt. I used about half that. And then I put in garlic powder, onion powder, and dill. I didn't have any parsley. I'm not really a big parsley fan anyway, but I was kind of going for like a ranch flavor, and they turned out really good. I do really like this. And I've seen a lot of the everything bagel seasoning. People have been using those in crackers too. I think that could be really good, but I will absolutely be making these again and again. Like I was kind of concerned that they might be doughy, but as I let them sit out and cool before I broke it up, like they are very crispy. They're perfect. So, and I did the math. Obviously, I can't break down the price for the seasonings because I have no idea how much I have used out of the container, and I just like dump. I don't really measure. So, but for just the flour alone to make just this much of them, one batch would be even less because this I calculated for the two. So it was 2 cups of the flour and water was about 61 cents. And so for the full batch, if you include the seasonings, I would estimate about 75 cents for the entire batch, but I really only need half. And you would buy a box of these in the store and they would be, I mean, depending on the brand, $3 to like $6. So just why have we been buying these things from the store for so long when this is the easiest thing in the world and it's so inexpensive? And I'm even using expensive flour. Like that King Arthur flour is about $5.50 a bag. So obviously using whole foods, whole grains is important to me. So I don't want the bleached and refined and all of that. Like if you were just going to buy a bag of white flour and make them, though, like they would be super cheap. But yeah, these are great. Definitely making them again. Well, it's safe to say that the extra 4 tent stakes did absolutely no good whatsoever. I'm pretty sure it's just going to stay right there until basically after today, because we are supposed to still have some storms coming in here. I don't know, sometime in the next few hours. So maybe tomorrow it'll be safe to put it back for, I don't know, a day or 3. Lovely Missouri weather. This is what it's like to wake up in the morning when you have teenagers. This is my washing left from yesterday, or stuff that needs washed. But yeah, the rest of this wasn't here whenever I went to bed last night. I'm the only person who can find the trash can or the recycling bin around here. And this child, I don't know how many times I tell him to rinse his dang dishes when he's done with them. He can't seem to ever remember to do it. And this one, he's left egos on it, so that one's definitely gonna have to sit for a while. Teenage boys are so much fun. I'm sure this will come as a huge shock, but the Weather Channel lied to us. I have been watching the 10-day forecast, and it was supposed to get down in the 50s today and tomorrow. But all along, it's been saying that the lows overnight would still be in the upper 30s. And I was like, well, great, don't have to worry about any more freezes or frosts, or heavy frosts anyway. And so I finally, like 2 days ago, took the blankets that I had just kind of piled up and waiting and took them back down to wash. And I got half of them washed, and I just checked a little bit ago, and now of course it's supposed to be 32 tonight and 31 tomorrow night. So back out they have to come so they can cover the plants for what really should be now the last time. So I'm ready for spring to stay. And as for this hunk of metal and mesh, there are so many rips in it now from being blown around. I'll climb in here so you can see. Like this one I've already fixed once and it's coming back open. There's small ones, there's big ones. Let's see if we can see any from down here. There's one right there. It's kind of harder to see when I'm looking up in the air, but yeah, they are plentiful now. There's a big one back there. So I'm gonna have so many holes to patch. I wish this thing would just stop blowing away, and I was gonna put it back on this morning, but it's still windy today. Like it's not hardcore windy like it was yesterday, but it's enough that I'm like, you know what? I'm not even gonna waste my time putting it on just for it to blow away again. I'm gonna have to figure out some sort of something to anchor this down that's longer than the tent stakes, because with that new soil, the tent stakes are just not cutting it, and I am tired of having to fix this thing because it keeps blowing away and getting new rips. Miss Emily doesn't seem to mind it. Say, I found a new house to lay in. How's my rotten girl? Give it a good roll. Or eat it. Silly. So I decided to use my big girl brain and use a tent stake the way it's actually designed to be used. I'm going to stake it into the ground and run a string to hold down the gosh darn cage. So I'm going to do each corner. I'm hoping that that doesn't have to be the long-term solution, because it would be nice to not have to mow around that stuff, and I'm going to need to mow the lawn here in a couple weeks. But for now, that's what we're going to do, so I can put this thing back and not have to pick it up anymore. Emily Jane. All right. I think that takes care of it for now. Honestly, my plan all along when that mesh finally does fail and needs replaced was to just chicken wire it. And honestly, I think that's going to be the best course of action. I have some chicken wire left, but probably not enough to do the whole thing. So I may have to buy another roll. But I just figured if I can wrap chicken wire around it and zip tie it on, or probably zip tie it, because if I use metal wire, it'll end up rusting and breaking. But that way I don't have to worry about it ripping. It's not obviously going to be fine enough to keep bugs out. So like tomato hornworms could still get into it. But the most important thing is that it's going to keep the squirrels out of it, because that's the reason I have this primarily. It covers my tomato bed so that the squirrels cannot get in and rob my tomatoes, because they're so thick here that I will not get a single ripe tomato. They will take every last single one of them when they're like big and green and juicy. Right before they're ready to start ripening, they steal them and take off with them, and I'll find them laying around with like a bite taken out of the tomato and the rest just left laying there. So it's infuriating, but I guess that's what happens when you live in a, inside city limits, so in a kind of urban area. but it is heavily wooded too. So the squirrel population is just out of control. So anyway, that's probably what I'm going to do going forward, but it's at least secured now to where when the wind blows, it should not go anywhere. So temporary solution set. So I still need to do the meal planning with you tomorrow. I am going to do kind of the condensed version and try to keep it like short, sweet, and simple because I know that this thing has already I'm almost at the 30-minute mark, I think now, and I haven't even done the meal planning yet. So I will try to keep it fairly basic for tomorrow and probably not show like the entire screen recording of everything I'm doing as I'm doing it, but I will share with you the completed copy and let you know what my plan is for next week. And I am going to make one small change. I have been doing my blog posts to where they are coming out just a few days before the week that I'm actually going to make the stuff. But then whenever this video goes out, the blog post isn't live yet, so I can't link it. So I am going to start putting them out earlier so that they can be linked in with these videos. So they're going to be a little ahead on the vlog or the blog, but be timed correctly for the vlog. So anyway, I will catch back up with you tomorrow when it is time to work on the meal plan. Hello. If you hear the birds, it's because Roz is very much addicted to cat TV. So I have it on for him and it's playing over there. So I made a decision. I think this is going to end up being a bonus vlog instead of the normal Sunday vlog. So you'll know that by now because you will see that it came out on Friday. But I just have too much. Like this vlog has already topped the 30-minute mark, which I try to make I try to keep them between 20 and 30 minutes. And the last 3 that I've done have been over 30. And I just went outside this morning and filmed some footage talking about an idea for putting a pond in my yard. And I was like, man, I just can't, I still have to do the meal planning. This is going to be 45 minutes long if I keep going. So I think the solution is that I'm going to do a bonus vlog because it's only Wednesday. I still have a couple of days of stuff to squeeze in here. So that is the plan. But for now, I wanted to go over the meal plan with you guys. And I'm going to take my little thing here and do an overlay on the screen so that you can see it. But rather than going through and typing it all out with you watching, I'm just going to go over what I already have on here so that I can keep this kind of short, but you can still see the plan. And this is going to be live on my blog. I guess I'll have to do it. If I'm going to put this video out Friday, I'm going to have to do it to make sure that this is out when the video comes out so that if you want to go to the blog post and see this and download what you need to download, if you are interested in doing this meal plan too, it'll be there. So anyway, the plan for this week, I found some sweet potato and black bean burrito bowls on Pinterest, and I will link that recipe as well. But that is my plan for next week. I'm going to do that. Of course, cat TV has to have ads, even though it's just a cat watching. So hold on. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to do that. And then, of course, I always have other stuff on hand for just throwing random things together, usually a combination of beans, rice, and vegetables, and tomatoes and spices and all of those things, which one of these days I'll probably do like a fridge and pantry tour and kind of show you just the stuff that I keep on hand when I don't have a video that's already 35 minutes long. And then I have my shopping list made for that. And then for Logan, because Hunter obviously is welcome to eat it too. He just doesn't ever. I swear to God, that kid, he's so picky. And the only thing that he will eat that I have in this house, I feel like, is either he puts together a sandwich, I do like cans of chili, and then ramen. And that's pretty much it. Otherwise, he just goes out and buys whatever crap from a restaurant. So, typical 19-year-old, I guess. But for Logan, I'm going to do beef and noodles, and then I'll just buy a bag of frozen peas and cook those to go on the side. So I have that down here for him. And then I probably will end up making another loaf of bread next week because I had some sourdough that I had bought plus the loaf that I made. Both are still in my fridge, but they're getting low, so I'll probably make those. The crackers I have plenty, but I'm hosting Easter this weekend. So I did buy seed crackers too. So I don't know if I'll need to make more crackers next week, but I might. I did just make banana bread last night too, because I buy the bunches of organic bananas and I end up with a ton of them. And so I had like 5 that hadn't been used yet. So I made 2 batches of banana bread, took one to Michael, and then I have one here for us. But so that's something that I've made a couple of times that I've never filmed. So we'll just see what else comes up next week. But this is what's actually on the plan. And then I always leave room for spontaneity. I like to have one thing planned that I make. I do a batch cook. That way I have it in the fridge. I can eat on it for a few days. And then I have other things as well. So that is the plan for next week. And you can find this over on my blog, which I always have linked down below. But this time I will also link this exact post. So you can find it if you want to. I will have downloadable PDF. And yeah, that's really about all there is to it, I guess. So I am going to bid you adieu because this is very long, and I will see you again on Sunday. So thanks for watching.